right, what's going on today, YouTube? Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and I appreciate again the support. You guys have been awesome. Um, yeah, I just kind of want to dive right into this episode because this episode is pretty special to me because I didn't really plan any lessons or all that nonsense. Today's podcast, guys, is important because I wanted it honestly to come from the heart. And I truly believe that this episode is going to be more than one of the more powerful episodes. Even though every episode is important, this episode is definitely going to be one of the more powerful ones because this episode is probably going to be the most true thing that I'm going to tell you guys, and it's going to be one of the things that I think every young man and woman should understand and know. Because everything I'm about to tell you are things that I lived through personally and things that I don't really talk about that much. But what I'm trying to share with you is that it's very important to understand that this episode is basically meant for you guys to understand if you're going through anything negative, anything that's hard, anything that you think you're not going to get through, you will get through it. Because I'll tell you right now, every time I've hit a low point in my life, every time I've lost somebody, lost something, lost whatever, there's always been a greater opportunity following that. And I'm here to share with you guys today that if you are in any type of a low point, if you're in any type of a struggle mentally, physically, maybe externally, family-wise, friend-wise, relationship-wise, you will get through it. And you will actually bounce back even higher in terms of you will become a better person, man or woman, from that. So without further ado, today's episode, guys, is you can come back from anything and everything. And I know those things are basically the same exact idea, but you can legitimately come back from everything. So I'm going to give you guys my basic story from when I was born to where I am now and share this with you. When I was born, guys, I grew up in my family's from Girard Estates in South Philadelphia. We're from Sicily and Italy, obviously. So, I have great-grandparents from Italy, came over, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, my family's from South Philadelphia. I was born in the year 2000. And basically my journey starts there. I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, even though my family is from Philly. I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I was with my mom, majority of the time. Because I was, coming from a single parent household most of my life, I always just had my mom in my life. And fast forwarding, guys, from the ages of, just being born to 4 years old, obviously I don't have a great memory, but I always knew that was just me and my mom on our own. Not in terms of family. We had a great family, great personal life, but we had just her and I. There was no dad in the picture at the time. There was no father figure in my life. And the first time I really met my dad, I can remember I was 4 years old, and he was, just an absolute, is a fiend a good word? He was just a horrible man, and that's nothing, and there's no hard feelings. There's nothing wrong with that. You young bucks out there, as you young men will know that typically a father is supposed to mentor you, kind of help you get ready to replace them in a way, kind of help you get ready to be the young man that you're meant to be. I have never had that. I've never had someone to show me, hey, this is what a man does. This is how he takes care of his family. This is how he holds himself accountable. This is how he shaves his face. This is how he, keeps himself clean cut in terms of haircuts, blah, blah. I've never had that ever in my life as a kid. So I would envy and get jealous of a lot of the kids that had these father figures in their life. When I go to parks nowadays and I see kids with their dad, I'm like, oh, cherish that, because that's something I never, ever had and never will have. Fast forward from after 4 years old, I was bouncing in and out of certain types of schools simply because I was getting suspended all the time, which is the theme of today's episode. I was a horrible kid. I would get suspended. I would fight kids. I would beat people up. I would just have a lot of pent-up aggression and anger, which I kind of refer to nowadays as passion. I still get very, what is the term? Very passionate, if you will, but it's much more focused. It's very career-focused. It's very goal-focused, if you will. But when I was younger, I just couldn't control that passion, that feeling I had. Whatever that rage was inside of me, I couldn't control it. And I just wanted to, fight somebody. Do I know why? I don't know. It could be immaturity, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm trying to say, guys, is that I was suspended freaking all the time. I would run away from my kindergarten class. I would do things in elementary school that I wasn't proud of. I would hurt people. I was a horrible person. Rightfully so. I everything that I did when I was younger, I take complete, blame for, and it was totally my fault. But the beauty in that, guys, is when I was a little kid, I had nothing, And when I say I had nothing, I've always been blessed with a great mother. I've always been blessed with a house over my head. I've always been blessed with some decent family that has always been by my side. I've always had, my grandparents and my mom that have really been supportive. Aunts and uncles too, but my grandparents and my mom have been really big cornerstones in my life, which I'm blessed for. But remember, I they weren't living my life. I had to get myself out of these ruts. I had to get myself out of this rageful place, if you will. So when I was a young kid growing up in the Doylestown area, a little bit in Philadelphia where my family was, and also in Holland and now Newtown, I was really isolated from friends, from kids my age. And that would really be bothersome because I had no one really around me, And in the time in 2008, when we still had those, yellow little phone books that would be delivered, I remember it clear as day where my mom kind of, I won't go into detail, but basically found my dad's info and was like, "Hey, I need help raising this young boy. I need a man to be there." So my dad came back into my life, and this is the start of the journey, guys, where when I say you can come back from anything and everything, when I was a kid, I was suspended from school. My father was very abusive physically and mentally towards me, and emotionally towards me. I didn't have a lot of close friends or like really things to relate to friends. I was very much isolated. So I spent a lot of time on my own, which was hard, but so freaking important, And when my father came into my life, for a brief time, he was great. He was awesome. He was phenomenal. But over a period of time, he was high and low. He was high and low. He was high and low. And it's not his fault because he was diagnosed bipolar manic, and a bipolar manic is someone who's going to be high, is going to be low. They're going to go through their emotions. And again, I don't fault him for the things that he did. I get what was going through his head because he was just so mentally messed up that you can't ask a man like that to raise a family. You can't ask a man like that to raise a son. You can't ask a man like that to be with a wife because they're just too emotional. So point being, guys, is so as a young kid, I had no friends. I was isolated. I was getting suspended and in trouble from school all the time. My father was an absolute fiend. He was a horrible man. He didn't really give me much information in terms of just, stop complaining, stop acting like an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Never really any mentorship, if you will. So I was all my own. I really had to figure it out on my own. And my mom was phenomenal when I was younger. She was great. She was awesome, but she had her own life too. So there's just me. There's Rob. So this is the beautiful part of the story because I had all these things going on, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, don't think it can get any worse. When I was 8 years old, I was arrested. Not once, I was arrested twice. That's right. In December of 2007, 8, I almost 2008. December of 2008, I was arrested twice. And for details that I won't go into, I obviously, got arrested for things that I'm not super duper proud of. But why do I share this on YouTube with you? Why do I say this on social media? Because the reason why is because I had no friends, I had a horrible father, and I got arrested twice. Okay, so we got that information so far. Picking back up where I left off, I got arrested twice. I was trying to get my act together as an 8-year-old kid, which is honestly ridiculous. And I was first to really grow up at a short period of time. So from second grade to fifth grade, from like 8 to 11 years old, I had to really figure out who I was. And it wasn't pretty. I would get in trouble. I would get suspended. I would get in fights. I would do really bad things and things that I'm not proud of, but things that I honestly had to go through and things I had to figure out and things I had to do to learn what kind of a man and young boy I was going to be. Fast forward later on, then the story still isn't over because then I'm finally cleaning up my act from the ages of around 14 to 16. I'm in middle school, and then going into high school. I'm cleaning up my act. I'm getting better grades. I'm making really good friends at Newtown Middle School, Council Rock North High School. I'm doing a great freaking job. And then boom, March. Oh man, I think it's a year to the date. March 13th or 14th, 2016 happens. We'll never forget that date. And that's the day that my dad just all of a sudden left. He was gone. And I'm going to share this very sensitive information with you, not because I want you to feel bad, because I want you to understand what I went through. So you guys can understand you can come back from anything you go through in your life. So we have all this stuff from when I was born to in terms of going into this adversity, through being arrested, through having a horrible father. The last thing my dad said to me about 7-8 years ago to the date was, "I'm never going to hurt you and I love you." And then the next day, he was gone. And it sounds so rough and so harsh to say this on social media. But the reason why you guys need to hear this is because by 16 years old, I had all this adversity, all these things going on, and then don't think it can get any worse after the stuff that's going on, and then boom, this happens. And I'm like, oh my God, all of a sudden, my father in my life is just gone. And then I won't go into detail because he had some issues. And let's just say me and my mom for a period of time were homeless from March 2016 to, July 2016 as well, because we just didn't have a place to stay due to reasons of us not being able to be in this house. So all this adversity is piling up. All these things are happening. I am 16 years old. I'm in a hotel room. I'm dealing with my mom, who I love to death, who was emotionally unstable, which is rightfully so. How can you not be emotionally unstable? I'm going through stuff, and I'm like, how can I get through this? Young guys, if you're listening to this is the most important thing for you young men out there, and young women too, but young men especially, is that when you go through this tragedy, when you go through the things that you think you're never going to come back from, because at 16 years old, I'm sorry, at 15 years old, oh my God, this is it. There's no shot. How am I going to come back from this? How are me and my mom going to start, get out of being homeless? How are we going to get out of all this stuff and be able to actually live again? How are we going to afford anything? And I'll tell you what, guys, there's going to be a moment in your life where it's basically you're in one big ocean, and you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. And I made a deal with myself in March of 2016 that I was going to frickin' swim. And not only was I going to learn how to swim, I was going to frickin' learn to backstroke or something, because I'm not staying in this kind of a life. I'm not going to stay in a life where I am going to be put down by others. I'm not going to stay in a life where I feel not, what is the word, adequate? I don't know if that's the right word, but equal to others. I am going to fight and claw to be the man that I deserve to be. And that was in March of 2016. And I made that deal with myself then, and I still have that deal with myself now, that I'm never going to let myself and my emotions get like that ever again, in terms of anxious, stressed, being very emotional, letting my anger out on other people, being horrible to my mom and others around me. I made a deal with myself when I was a young guy, again, when I was, figuring stuff out in elementary school, that I am going to be great. And then when the things happened with my father, that just became more of a catalyst to say, hey, it's time to work. It's time to rock and roll. And from that point on, guys, it was game on. I mean, I was invested in football. I was invested in school. I made mistakes, had fun with my friends. Obviously, we all make mistakes. We all do dumb stuff. We all like to have fun. But as a young man, I'm like, hey, I'm going to rock and roll. I'm going to go. I'm going to do this thing. So at this point of the story, guys, what I'm trying to share with you is you can literally come back from anything and everything. Think, at 16 years old, I had I was homeless. I was going to a pretty nice school in Newtown, Pennsylvania, which is awesome. And no one knew of what was happening with my family life. No one knew that I was homeless. But I was like, hey, man, what is me complaining going to do? I'm going to figure things out. I'm going to help out my mom. I'm going to do what I need to do to become great and, again, become the man that I need to become. And my mom, I love her so much. She made me the man that I am, and I'm thankful and I'm blessed for it. But point of me sharing all these things is that I should have been done. There's no reason I should be in the position I am today, with my business, with my friends, with my family, with my career. There's no real reason for it. I should be. It'd be easy for me to complain. It'd be easy for me to say, hey, it's done. It's over. I'm just going to be mediocre. But again, guys, when you go through these things that you don't think you can get through, whether that is a death of a family member, a breakup, a loss of a friend, in terms of, again, death and or just not being in their life anymore, you can get through it, and you will get through it. But you have to be willing to accept the fact that whatever happened has happened. You let go, you move on, and you rock and you roll. It sounds so simple when I say it like that, but it's not. And if you're going through something, you know that it's hard. If you move to a new city, if you have a new career, whatever, it's never easy, but you can do it and you can get through it. So more of the story of today, guys, is that you can really come back from anything and everything. And I'm telling you right now, the more struggle you go through, the bigger the piece. Another great example is, my story is still not done. I'm only 23, I have a long way to go, but I will never forget, I was dating this girl from the time of 2016 and 2019 off and on. She was a great girl. I love her to this day. She is awesome. She is phenomenal. There's no hard feelings, and truthfully, I was not in a position to be in a relationship at all at that time, because of everything I had going on personally. But the best thing she did for me, I want to leave this with you, is think, this one person was my whole entire world. And I had dropped out of college to pursue my business, fitness business, and to pursue, me being the best version of myself, because college was too mediocre. I didn't like it. I've always been more of a leader. I don't like people telling me what to do, as you can probably tell with my personality. I'm a go-getter. So I never agreed with the teachers, never agreed with certain things. And I also really like to stay with a disciplined routine. College didn't offer that for me. So when I dropped out and I was seeing this girl at the time, I will never forget when I told her my plan of starting a business, the first thing she said to me when I said, hey, this is my plan of starting this business, she said, there's no way that's going to happen. You have to pay for payroll, you have to pay for employees, you have to pay for overhead, you have to do all these things. So in a split second of me having all this adversity and then this other person, this girl that was my world, everything that I thought mattered had basically just kind of shut me out. When I had lost my football career, when I had lost my military career, when I was in ROTC, and then I had lost this girl. I had lost all these things. And I'll never forget that day was November 19th, 2019. I know I have a crazy memory, but it was November 19th, 2019. And I'm like, oh, like this is why is life doing that? Why am I being boggled down? And you might be asking yourself the same question. Why am I in this position? Why am I in the whatever? Why am I going through this adversity? And I'm telling you right now, it is the best feeling ever when you're going through that adversity and you get to the other side and there's a big reward at the end of that, at the end of the other side. Because I swear to you, I promise you guys, if you can just stick it out and accept the adversity and accept the failure or the tragedy or whatever, you will bloom or blossom or whatever into the person you're supposed to become. Because I don't forget that day back in November 2019. And 5 years later, again, I'm voted one of the best trainers in Bucks County. I have a very successful fitness business. I have a very successful career out in New Hope, Pennsylvania, in terms of personal training, and I have no signs of slowing down. So the whole moral of the story is this, guys. Let me just wrap it up with this last minute here, is you can come back from anything. You can come back from everything. All you have to do is be willing to put in the work. Accept whatever was is now gone and now walk into whatever is. And typically when you let something go, it gives room for a new thing that's even better to come forward. And I'm telling you right now, man, when you have those opportunities to get better, man, it's the best thing ever. A great quote by Kobe Bryant is pressure, anything that's negative, anything that has a lot of pressure under it, any type of a challenge, those things are an opportunity for me to rise. So, sit on this podcast, think about this podcast, think about this episode, but use this number 9 episode as a cornerstone piece for you, young men and women out there, when you're going through something that's hard. Understand that it's not bad. It's actually a blessing in disguise, and it's really, really good. I hope my story inspires somebody out there to chase greatness, to chase growth, and be the best version of themselves. So I'll tell you what, guys, I plan on having a family one day, planning on having a big business one day, bigger than it is right now. I plan on having, as much as I can, in terms of a man. And everything I've gone through, I'm so thankful for it, because when my son, when my daughter, when my wife goes through stuff, hey, man, I'm ready to go. So again, I know that was a pretty emotional and big rant, but understand, guys, you can get through anything and everything. Just put in the work, and you can do it. But as always, guys, fitness is the way forward, and keep God first. And I'll see you guys next week. All right, peace.